Hey guys, this is normally the part where Roy sits down and talks to you about what he talked about last week, but he was slacking off last week, so you get my beautiful face instead. So, last Sunday we talked about the need to live our lives full of grace and full of truth, and how it's a balance that is hard to strike sometimes, and it sounds almost contradictory to each other. But it's something that we're called to be. We're called to be full of grace and truth. So, I asked Roy for the purpose of this video to write up some questions that people may have that may need clarifying or just gone over again.
And they're awesome.
He's full of himself. So, I figured we'll just go through these together. The first question was, why is it easier for us to lean heavily toward one while neglecting the other? Usually people tend hard toward one side of the spectrum or the other, but I think when it comes to grace and truth, we do that, but it depends on the day, it depends on the time, and it depends on the person. I think we often... The easiest way to look at it is I think we often like to look at ourselves and lean toward grace, and we give ourselves lots of grace, but then we look at that person that we don't really like, and suddenly we're all about truth, right? We really nitpick that person. And I think it's easy to lean one way or the other because finding that balance and truly saying like, okay, well, what they did was wrong, but I need to get past it. We don't like to sit in that. We like to sit in definites. We like black and white. We like easy, clear answers. And the reality is grace isn't black and white. It isn't easy. It isn't clear. It's something that we have to struggle with in order to give people, in order to truly give grace. We have to struggle. Truth can be easier. Truth can be easier because there is a black and white to it. There is a, no, you messed up. That was wrong. But without the grace side of it, it becomes cruel, and it becomes condemning, judgy, things like that. Did I answer that question sufficiently?
I think so.
Okay. Question 2. How do you... That's not what that says. TJ speaks English, take 2. How do, or how should, grace and truth actually work together and not be competing against each other? So, like I talked about Sunday, grace and truth working together is the gospel. It is what Jesus came to do. We're all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God. We've sinned, and the punishment for that sin is death. It's eternal separation from God. That's the truth. Where grace comes in, where it works together, is God loved you so much anyway, He sent His Son to die for you, and so that we can spend eternity with Him instead of separated from Him. So how they work together and how they should work together is acknowledging that sin problem that we all have, but also showing the love that God showed us first. If I was more prepared, I would have the reference ready off the top of my head, but Roy's right behind the camera. He may answer it. Paul talks about God shows us His love, and that while we were still sinners, before we fixed everything, that's when Christ died for us, not after we got our life cleaned up.
That's Romans 5:8.
Romans 5:8, thank you. I knew it was Romans, but I would not have come up with 5:8 off the top of my head. So that's how they work together. It's the classic church answer. Jesus is how they work together. It is the gospel. And then our last question that Roy cooked up for us. How can we be an obvious place where people feel the comfort grace allows and still know it requires us to allow the Spirit to make necessary changes? And this is really where the hard part comes in, because even if you do acknowledge, hey, there is a sin problem and we need to fix it, but there's also grace where even if we're not perfect, Jesus fills that gap. showing that can be the challenge. Showing that is the challenge, because from the outside looking in, we again tend to one way or the other. We tend to show, hey, you're doing this wrong and you need to change it, or Jesus loves you, do whatever you want. And neither of those things are fully accurate. Jesus does love you, but that doesn't mean that you can abuse the grace that he gives. And the other side is true, that these things are wrong and you need to fix it, but the things that you're working on, Jesus does span that gap for us. So how can we be the obvious place? I think that the simple answer is err on the side of grace, but don't give up the truth. So show love to everybody and build that relationship with people before you start fixing the problem. So you show grace first, get them to Jesus, and let Jesus then work on their heart and help them understand the things that need fixed after. But don't give up truth for that grace. You don't have to give way on what is sin. You can stand firm. You can be honest in what sin is, and also show love at the same time. So this week, ask yourself, if someone spent 1 week around you, would they see both grace and truth in your life? And if they aren't, how do you change that? How do you make changes in yourself so that you can show people both the grace of Jesus and the truth of his word at the same time? Did I do that right?
I liked it.
Roy liked it. I think we're good. I'll see you next week. If you're at church, Roy will be on the video. Sorry, you only get this every so often. Bye. The little light's red. Does that mean it's on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you edit these things?
Very little.
Oh, okay. So this is going to make it more work for you.
Perhaps.
Cool. I'll stop and have random conversations throughout, so you really gotta...
So yeah, I'll leave that in there too.